Merry Christmas, Cebu. It's open mic night once again, and tonight we have an esteemed election lawyer, former chairman of the Commission on Human Rights, and we know her more as the former secretary of the Department of Justice, and now she's running for senator under the Liberal Party of their standard bearer is Secretary Rojas. Secretary Leila De Lima, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and to your viewers, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming to the show. To Secretary De Lima's credit, of course, a lot of people know that I am a critic of LP and the president, and you're still here.
Oh, what a privilege.
And like I said, it's to your credit.
Oh, thank you.
Because a lesser mortal would have preferred an echo chamber.
I don't mind. I don't mind being in an atmosphere of a rather, some dissent.
But you're okay with some dissent?
Oh, yes.
Because later I will probably we will probably disagree on certain things, but I think the more intelligent people, the more confident people are the ones who don't fear dissent.
Oh, certainly.
And if I ask easy questions, it would be an insult to your intelligence and to your credentials. I first met Secretary De Lima because she was among the very first guests of The Bottom Line with Boy Abunda, of which I was a mainstay panelist for 4 years. And then I remember that in the brainstorming session, that's our first segment in Bottom Line, I really asked Boy to ask you if you dabbled in some theater, because I remember saying, because Secretary De Lima, at the time you were chairman of the CHR, because you enunciate ng bonggang-bongga.
Well, that was a unique question to ask then.
Like because I told him that either you dabbled in some theater or you're a professor of English.
Well, it's just that my parents really made sure that I studied or learned English early, and that I learned it properly. And in school, I used to participate in school plays, school dramas, oratorical contests, etc. That's
why. And then when Boy asked you, you said yes, you did join like a theater club, and I said, I knew it. I was telling my friend, I'm gonna have Secretary De Lima on the show. I wonder if I will enunciate properly.
Well, you are doing it very well.
Not as enunciated as you. So, Secretary De Lima, before I go to probably the more controversial issues, you were chairman of the Commission on Human Rights, which is it's a constitutional commission. You were there for 2 years. You were Secretary of Justice of President Aquino, the Aquino administration, CHR under President Arroyo, and DOJ Secretary under President Aquino for 5 years.
Yes.
Around that time.
A little more than 5 years.
And then you were a very successful election lawyer prior to both of this. What will you bring to the Senate? You are running for senator. What is the one thing that you will bring to the Senate?
Well, precisely because of my exposure and my experience in the human rights and the justice sector, I would be focusing on 3 areas of concern: justice and rule of law, anti-corruption, and human rights. I'd like to see simpler laws. I'd like to craft simpler laws that would be easier for law enforcers to implement, and that it would be faster for the guilty people to be punished, and faster for the innocent accused to be released from jail, and a simpler investigation process para madali napapakulong yung mga may sala. And then anti-corruption, I would call it a renewed offensive against corruption. The Aquino administration has been rather successful in its anti-corruption platform, but I think kailangan pa we strengthen existing legal mechanisms in terms of going after the ill-gotten wealth. Know how to locate, how to search for the ill-gotten wealth, how to freeze them, and how to recover them.
Is it more complicated now?
It's more complicated. How to make sure that this ill-gotten wealth are freezed in a timely, are frozen. The accounts are frozen
Secretary De Lima,
in a timely manner.
As DOJ Secretary, what is the one thing? What is the one thing you are most proud of? Your top achievement as DOJ, head of the DOJ?
Well, I have had major high-profile investigations that we handled. And because of that, well, I should say that the DOJ has become a trusted and respected institution. There are still problems, there are still internal dynamics, but overall, I think the public trust, the public perception of DOJ as an institution has improved because of sheer dedication, of sheer really seriousness and tenacity.
Some people say
fulfilling
that
the mandate.
more than anything, the success can be attributed to good PR more than anything. Do you?
Well, I wouldn't really know because I didn't go after media. It's just that because of the nature of the cases that I've been handling, that I became really targets of publicity. But that is not something that I really sought.
Let's talk about one high-profile case, and I think we may disagree on the matter, and I will say it even from the get-go. President Arroyo, we both served under her, and you were CHR under her.
Yes.
Ironically, the UN came out with a resolution saying that her arrest and continued detention are arbitrary, a violation of international law, and a violation of her human rights. And I've read the opinion, and some of the provisions were very clearly pointing to the arrest, which you oversaw.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile?
I completely disagree.
It's just funny, that.
Yeah, I completely disagree with the views. These are really just views. These were not really technically as ruling, and they can never be binding rulings. These are views of a particular body of the UN Human Rights Council, which looks into certain reports,
but it's part of the
protests.
bureaucracy. It's part of the the UN process.
Yes, it's part of the UN process. But that is something I find really rather odd. That why would they say that the arrest and the detention of the former president is contrary or is violative of human rights when we have our own constitution, we have our own laws, and the constitution exactly provides for when bail may be denied. Okay, bail is a matter of right, but not in cases of offenses, the capital offenses, which are punishable by life imprisonment. We don't have death penalty anymore, so life imprisonment where the evidence of guilt is strong.
The preponderance.
The only reason for you to be freed from detention, if you are being tried for a capital offense, is when the evidence of guilt is not strong. And the Sandigan Bayan has repeatedly ruled already.
Okay. I remember very well her first arrest. Her first arrest was on November 18, 2011. It was a Friday. The night before, it just so happens because in the interest of full disclosure, I visited her at St. Luke's. The first arrest had nothing to do with plunder. It had everything to do with electoral sabotage case.
Yeah, the electoral sabotage case.
But guess who I saw at St. Luke's when I entered? Chairman Brillantes, your mentor.
Really?
So he was
I didn't
sick.
know that.
And then the following day, there was a resolution submitted to RTC by Judge Mupas, which eventually he granted bail, for.
Yes.
Oh, but how could she have been a flight risk? Because that's what I remember. That's why you stopped her at the airport, because you said that she's a flight risk. But prior to that, she was labas-pasok, sa Philippines like 5 times at the very least.
Yes, because at the time there were no cases yet. But of course, there's this case, this electoral sabotage case, and electoral sabotage case is supposed to be also a capital offense, that it would merit the high penalty of reclusion.
But she signed it into law.
Reclusion perpetua.
But she signed it into law, si GMA. Why would you sign into law something that would endanger your freedom in the future if you really violated it?
Well, this is electoral sabotage, no? and that the law prescribes reclusion perpetua, and therefore it is non-bailable unless you can prove that the evidence of guilt is not strong, although eventually she was able to do that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, she was charged with plunder, another non-bailable offense. Now, we had to prevent her from leaving because, you know...
Why not allow her to leave? Let her spend for her security details so that she doesn't, so that she just gets the medical attention she deserves.
At the time, all information points to the fact that she could very well did not entertain any idea of returning within the Pinoy administration. That she would just wait for the Pinoy administration to exit before she could go back.
With the attacks of the president, I don't blame her.
Well,
anyway, going back to the electoral sabotage, and then the prime witness that says that he heard President Arroyo say,
yes,
like vote straight or whatever to the Ampatuans, is a co-accused in the Maguindanao massacre, correct?
Yes.
So isn't that quite dubious? Maybe he's just trying to strike a deal with the Aquino administration.
No, there's no such deal. I can tell you that. It's just that there is a sworn statement attesting to that. So we had to accept that. Are you referring to?
Well, the witness who said that he overheard the instructions.
Actually, he passed away already. He passed away already. Okay. That's the provincial administrator of the former governor, Andal Ampatuan Sr., who also has passed away.
Everyone's passing away. Anyway, about the plunder case
that's before the Sandigan Bayan. And several motions have been filed already for the grant of her bail, but the Sandigan Bayan has repeatedly denied it. And that means that the evidence of guilt is strong. But she has now also went to the Supreme Court, just like Senator Enrile. Yeah. And that's why I think the Supreme Court is now in a bind, because what did they do in the Enrile case? They granted bail for Senator Enrile
because of the age,
on an unprecedented ground, which is humanitarian consideration. That's not in the Constitution, that's not in the law. The only standard for the grant of bail in non-bailable offenses or in capital offenses is if the evidence of guilt is not strong.
Okay.
The Sandigan Bayan was not yet given any opportunity to make such a declaration or determination that the evidence of guilt against Senator Enrile is strong or not. And yet here we are, the Supreme Court intervening rather prematurely and granting bail to Senator Enrile on humanitarian ground. So now the former president is invoking exactly the same thing.
Okay.
So what will the Supreme Court do?
We will continue the discussion after we pause for this short break. Open mic will be right back. We're back here on Open Mic with Secretary Leila De Lima. So, Secretary De Lima, we really disagree on
certain issues.
Yeah, on certain issues, particularly the situation of GMA now.
Yes.
I really believe that I've read the case, the reason why she's still at the veterans, and personally, though I'm a non-lawyer, I really think that the evidence is very weak. And everyone else, her co-accused, practically everyone else has been granted bail. And for someone who has been in detention for almost 4 years or more than 4 years, it is also an injustice to serve time for something that you may not have committed at all.
The Ombudsman is of different view. The Sandigan Bayan agrees with the Ombudsman. That issue has cropped up already several times, because several motions have been filed already asking for bail, but repeatedly the Sandigan Bayan denied it. So that means, in the view of the Sandigan Bayan, the evidence of guilt is strong. So,
in the view of this boss of Pinoy, the Sandigan Bayan is biased because even when her grandson died, can you imagine, she really had to assert her right to visit her grandson. And I remember that they even said, like, you know, that when she spent time at the wake for a few, like 30 minutes or or a few hours, that it was enough grieving, something like that. I mean, that's just awful.
The Sandigan Bayan is an independent constitutional body, so I
I know. Just for discussion's sake.
no partisanship.
Just for discussion's sake. Anyway, speaking, and then let's proceed with the CHR theme, the human rights theme.
Yes.
Let's talk about Mayor Duterte.
Okay.
Your BFF. You have not seen him in a while, no?
I have not seen him since CHR days when we investigated the cases of summary killings.
What was the result of your investigation?
Sad to say, well, there were lots of information coming in, and there were witnesses saying that indeed DDS exists, and indeed Mayor Duterte has something to do with it, but they never really came out in the open at the time.
Okay.
So at the time, so we conducted the public hearings in Davao. That's when I first met him. And so no case prospered against him. Although when I left the CHR eventually filed cases with the ombudsman against certain policemen who were implicated
but not
in
against
those
Mayor
killings,
Duterte.
but not against Mayor Duterte himself. Now, when I was at the DOJ about a year ago, someone surfaced and claiming to be a former hitman of the DDS. So we covered him under
The witness
the
protection.
WPP, the Witness Protection Program, and the NBI, a special team of the NBI, is now investigating it. The team is looking for supporting or corroborative
But Senator Santiago,
evidence.
in her press con last week, said, why just now? Just because he's running for president?
No, when I was at the DOJ,
It was,
so he was not yet running. No, there was no
Do you think-
filing of
do you think he is
COCs
guilty
yet.
of human rights violations?
Look at how he's been bragging about it.
But he said it's
Look at how.
But he said it's hyperbole.
Well, ano siya, magulo siya eh.
What?
You know, magulo siya. We would not know. I mean, in certain occasions, he would appear to be very serious, and then babawiin niya.
That's why I don't take it seriously.
Just like yung
Running.
urong-sulong niya sa pag-file ng COC. But then again, the mere fact that you keep on saying, you know, that sa Davao, pinapapatay ko na lang yan, etc. Then, you know, it's you might as well have pulled the trigger yourself if you continue to encourage people to do it. You know, the vigilantism.
Okay. But Batman is a vigilante. Batman versus Superman. So if you see Mayor Duterte, what do you think is going to happen? Magsasampalan din kayo?
I don't think so. I have nothing personal against him. He's a fellow Bedan. So
You
know,
finished your law school in San Beda?
Yes, I graduated from San Beda. Of course, it's much earlier. Now, if I see him, I would approach him and then I would greet him. I would acknowledge
No
him.
sampalan.
Why should I?
Okay, but that's your human rights hat, no? Let's have you wear your election lawyer hat. Do you think he will be disqualified or he should be disqualified because
No.
of that substitution?
No.
No.
It's not a fatal one. I don't think there's anything fatal to what happened there.
With the Dino.
Yeah, the
thing.
Dino COC, they say that the one filed was the wrong form, the wrong document, that it was for the position of mayor. It's a matter of intent. So they say the intent was for the president. And I heard that the CONA as issued
Is for president.
was for president.
So
madaling lusutan yan, and I think the COMELEC
he will not be disqualified.
will rule in his favor.
And
That's
if you
fearless
are a
part.
COMELEC, you will not rule against him.
Yes, yes.
So you think he is a human rights violator, but you think he should not be disqualified for president?
Yes.
As an election law
Yes,
expert.
if that is the only ground.
Okay.
The only ground is there was no valid substitution. I say that there was a valid substitution. So he's qualified.
So that's an
nobody has questioned his citizenship. Nobody has, nobody has.
But Mayor Duterte has found an endorsement in you.
No, not at all.
No, an endorsement. At least, no, that he is not disqualified.
Yes, and it is right to run. It is right to present himself to the Filipino people. But as to whether he is worthy as a president,
that's a different story.
That's a different story. That's another matter.
Grace Po, should she be disqualified? Is it right for the first division and the second division to have ruled to cancel?
Well, of course, the Supreme Court will have the final say, but I think she can be disqualified. Now, on the issue of the natural-born citizenship, as a lawyer, the lawyer in me says that she should be disqualified based on a strict, literal reading of the Constitution. The Constitution is very explicit as to who is a natural-born Filipino citizen. Unfortunately, a foundling is not one of them. But as a human rights advocate, any ruling that would favor Senator Grace Po and that would affirm her status as a natural-born Filipino, even if she is a foundling, then that is very acceptable to me. Now, we have a situation where two divisions of the COMELEC have already directed the cancellation of her certificate of candidacy on the ground of false material representation. So I would say that it's now really an uphill battle.
And they were right to do that?
Yes. You could see from the discussions in both resolutions as to the matter of, particularly on the matter of residency,
but
based on her own declaration.
But the camp of Senator
in her
Po,
2013 COC.
The camp of Senator Po say that the COMELEC also failed to include other material evidence, like 400 pages of legal documents that attest to her having fulfilled the residency requirement.
But the reckoning period, based on both resolution, is the grant of reacquisition, or the date of the reacquisition of her Filipino citizenship. But because before that, before having reacquired her Filipino citizenship, she could not have established her domicile in the country because she was still an American citizen. Because you cannot be an American citizen if you are not a resident of
no, but Secretary De Lima,
the U.S.
The residency and citizenship are spelled out because they're two different things.
These are two distinct qualifications.
So, but an American citizen, for example, kahit puting-puti, can establish residency here, can establish domicile. You can become a resident, a legal resident of the Philippines. So meaning you don't have to be a Filipino citizen to establish residency.
But the domicile of choice of a Filipino citizen and a resident of that is quite explicit also, the requirement. And that's it, the reckoning point was when she reacquired her Filipino citizenship.
Which was when?
Which was July of 2006. So the earliest, or if it's July 2006, then she would be satisfying the 10-year residency requirement only in July.
That's 2016.
So that is 2 months short. But based on her own declaration in the 2013 COC, she would be 6 months short. And her misrepresentation in her 2016 COC really was a big point against her in the minds of the COMELEC commissioners. Why would she now change it in 2016? Meaning that she would deliberately made a different declaration in 2016, knowing fully well that she had said something else in her 2013 COC.
Yeah, but I saw the COC, And it was not very specific. I mean, we talked about it before starting the show. It seemed like it was like an estimate, no? I mean, because
yeah, that's why her defense is honest mistake.
Yeah, because if you ask me,
but that was rejected by the commissioners. So it's a question now of whether
the Supreme Court
would entertain her explanation as to
do you accept her explanation personally as an election lawyer?
As to her honest mistake. Well, as the COMELEC commissioners say, well, she is educated, she is intelligent, she has a staff, and she has lawyers. So they could not have overlooked that.
Well, that's her predicament now.
Yes, so, that's why I'm saying, well, theoretically she can still win it. Theoretically, it's still pwede pa, no? So it's just a matter of giving really the best arguments, presenting the best arguments before the Supreme Court. But as I said, it's now uphill for her, especially that she has to establish a case of grave abuse of discretion on the part of the COMELEC, because that is the only ground when you go on certiorari before the Supreme Court.
Certiorari is like a TRO? What is that?
No, certiorari is a petition. It's certiorari on the certiorari questioning the decision of a lower tribunal,
but just to,
and that is the COMELEC. But grave abuse of discretion, how can you say there is grave abuse of discretion when both decisions of the COMELEC divisions, we're not just talking here about the en banc, but I think it's a foregone conclusion already, because isa na lang ang hindi pa nakukuhang posisyon, and that's the chair's position. So kung may basehan ka, maganda naman ang pagkakapresenta mo ng ruling mo, and merong legal basis, merong basehan sa jurisprudence, how can there be a grave abuse of discretion?
Yeah, but
it's still possible.
Yeah, before we pause for a break, considering both things, no? Being a human rights expert and being an election law expert, in your own opinion, setting aside the decision of the COMELEC, in your own appreciation of facts, yes or no, should Grace Poe be disqualified from running for president?
She can be disqualified. The lawyer in me says she is disqualified. The human rights advocate in me says that
but which has more
maybe weight? As a lawyer.
So you think she should be disqualified?
She can be disqualified. It's not for me to say that, it's for the Supreme Court, but that is my view.
We'll be right back with Secretary De Lima. We're back here at Open Mic on our last gap with Secretary Leila De Lima. So, Secretary De Lima, what's the deal with the scarves?
Well,
when did you start wearing them?
When I was practicing.
Ever since?
Ever since, when I was practicing at the law office of Rocco.
Bakit lamigin po kayo?
I remember that si Attorney Kapunan, Lorna Kapunan, is one of the senior partners there. She was one of my bosses there because I was just a junior partner. And she would regularly wear a scarf. And other associates.
Are you good friends with her?
Oh yes, certainly. Until now. Until now. Although she's also running. So hence, from then on, this became my signature.
Attorney Kapunan, she was your influence on, or malamigin kayo?
It just so happened that all the lady lawyers in the law office were wearing the scarf. So when I put up my own law firm, nag-scarf ako when I appear before the COMELEC and then in the CHR. So this became my signature, and that is why in the rare moments that I don't wear it, people ask.
They wonder.
They wonder, where is your scarf? Kahit nga sa palengke. Because I go to the market. Siyempre, market din, nakasimpleng ano lang ako. Sometimes,
nakaparang. Minsan mainit, di ba?
Yes. Yeah. Of course, I wouldn't wear scarf. But people would look for my scarf. Attorney, Sec, where is your scarf? Nasa palengke ko no, no?
How many scarves do you have?
Oh, it's one full...
You're the Imelda Marcos of scarves?
I really have lots of scarves because people simply gift me with with scarves on all occasions. 85% of my gifts, whether it's Christmas, it's birthday, it's Valentine, it's scarf. Because for my friends, for the people, it's the safest gift.
I had always wondered because when I was in government, I noticed that a lot of women's rights advocates, reproductive rights advocates,
Also
they would wear scarves. Like in
I have
various
scarves
summits.
of various colors and designs.
What is your favorite? What color is your
Right
favorite?
now, it's really blue, because I wear most of the time now I wear yellow shirt, and therefore I accent it with blue, because that is
the
my
LP color.
political color, yellow and blue. Blue because it's my favorite color, yellow because it's the LP.
Do you have a
LP
feng shui? Is there a feng shui element to your choice of color? No.
No.
You're not superstitious.
No. Although when the date of the filing of my COC, I had to consult a feng shui, and she advised me to file it last October 15 between 1 to 3 in the afternoon.
What is your sign?
The feng shui, Virgo. The feng shui asked for my birthday and even the time.
Yeah,
of my
it's a
birth.
complete birth chart. No,
Yes.
Virgo is your Western, but what about your Chinese horoscope? What is your?
I think it's pig.
Oh, we're the same. Are you the same age as President Arroyo?
No. 1959. Is it the year of the pig? I'm not quite
She
sure
would
anymore.
be 60,
She's older.
12 years. Around. So if she's like 12 years older, then you would be pig the next, it's because when I know President Roy is a pig, Chris Aquino is a pig, and I'm a pig also. But they have different elements. But speaking of pig, you've lost weight. What a segue. You've lost a lot of weight, no?
Well, people have noticed, but this is not deliberate at all. Not deliberate at all. It's just
it's a fringe benefit of campaigning, or going around.
It's the physical fatigue.
Yeah.
It's really very tiring, very exhausting, although I'm enjoying it.
Of course. I mean,
I'm enjoying it.
are you a political animal?
No, I'm not. I'm not a politician.
But you already are now. The moment you filed your COC.
Yes. Well, my experience now, what I'm doing now is just really a lesson or experience in human relations. You know, how to win friends and how to win more friends and how to influence others and be influenced by others. So that's it. I get to interact with all sorts of groups, all sorts of characters.
Personalities.
So it's an experience in human relations.
The three hats you've worn, the most, I'm sure you've worn other hats, but the most memorable is election lawyer, CHR head, and DOJ secretary. Which is the most memorable to you?
Of course, DOJ. Well, CHR, I've learned a lot, and it was very, very fulfilling as a human rights defender and human rights advocate. I was pretty busy also, but nothing compared to my work and the challenges that I faced and all the problems that I encountered.
And the controversies.
The controversies, which I did not really seek for.
Yeah.
I never asked to be controversial. Those things just fell on my lap. And so even the volume of work is really
the most challenging. It was really the most challenging.
Is most challenging.
But speaking of controversies, one of the silliest, I think, and if I may mention it, was the allegation of Sandra Cam.
Oh,
That you have a sex video.
Yeah, that was really
How did you react
preposterous.
when you heard about it?
The best way to handle someone like Sandra Cam is just to ignore her.
But when you heard about it in the news that she was alleging that you have it with your bodyguard ba yun, or your
No,
driver?
that's really preposterous.
Did you laugh? Did you
I
did you
didn't,
cry?
I didn't know how to react. The sheer,
She's running, right?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
So sorry, I had to
terrible.
Sorry, I had to bring it up, but it's just one of the silliest
It is.
issues.
She even used it as a ground for objecting to my confirmation
Yeah.
before the Commission on Appointments. So and then she was
Did the members of the commission appointments take it seriously?
no, I don't think so. They confirmed my appointment. But you know, nakakaano talaga. Well, isa yan talaga sa public service, no.
It's part of it.
It's part of it. It's so unfair, and it's simply laughable.
But it's just gonna get worse because you're running for senator.
I think so, but that's something that I've been hoping that you know, na in this election season, you know, mudslinging should be avoided. You know, gutter style should be avoided. Let's skip it. Let's skip it. Professional.
Did you advise Secretary Rojas against commenting on the sampalan? Because you speak of you know, keeping things above board.
Yeah, that is of course unfortunate, but I don't really blame Secmar for reacting in that manner. I think, you know, because his Wharton degree is something that is special for him, and for someone to question that and without any basis, ano naman bang punto ni Mayor Duterte doon? Hindi man lang ba niya verify yon?
I am a critic of Secretary Rojas, but I posted on Facebook and it kind of went viral, just to categorically say that yes, he is a graduate, and I really had to call out some stupid people who would say, no, he's not a graduate because he didn't go to graduate school. That's just so. I'm so sorry, but it's just the most stupid thing I've ever heard.
Yes.
He's an undergrad, but I think if not to defend Mayor Duterte, but I think what he meant was the impression that Secretary Rojas has an MBA from Wharton, and that is the myth. Because even I thought he had postgraduate. He has a postgraduate.
But he never claimed.
But he never corrected the impression.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, that because there is a prevailing impression. Because even from among senior government officials, now, no, in light of Mayor Duterte's pronouncements, people were saying, bachelor's lang pala. We thought it's an MBA. So maybe they're both in the wrong, and both. I mean, somehow, in my opinion. But it's wrong to say that he did not graduate from Wharton. To be fair, he has an undergrad degree from Wharton.
Well, but Secmar was duty bound to correct that. If it was a mere impression, maybe Secmar didn't know that there was such an impression. Yeah. So there was no duty on his part to.
But just to that I think that's where Mayor Duterte is coming from. That because nga so maybe the impression reached him that Secretary Rojas has an MBA, and then when they fact check, he only has a bachelor's degree. So. But it's fun.
And now I think the latest is that there's Mayor Duterte challenged Secmar to a duel.
But
that's a crime, no?
In the revised penal code.
It's still in the revised penal code. So Mayor Duterte is just being consistent. He's used to violating the law,
you know,
by advocating for summary killings, and here he is again challenging to a duel. That's another crime.
But I'm Secretary De Lima, I'm a political communications consultant, no? In my opinion, this is my unsolicited opinion, maybe you can tell Secretary Rojas, Mayor Duterte is in his element. He is true to form, true to character. When he says things like that, he's just being consistent. Secretary Rojas should not have engaged him in that, because he was dragged into a contest that he could not win, because people expect more from him. When he says that I have a Wharton degree, sampalan ko siya kung wala, ganon. You do not expect that from a Wharton alumnus, right? So, Mayor Duterte, there are no expectations like that, because he's not an Ivy Leaguer. And he has shown that he is really that tact is not his strong suit.
But Secretary Mar, I think, was just being true to his feelings, that nasaktan siya doon sa naging allegation ni...
But he could have clarified with a diploma.
Wow.
Yeah. that's just my opinion, no? But the elections is becoming very interesting. Too interesting for our own good.
Yeah, but I do wish that it is kept at high level. Professional. No mudslinging, no unfair and below the belt criticisms. Let's focus on issues. But of course, it's better said than done. Yeah. You know, the personality and issues. Well, because issues would define your personality.
That's right.
and your personality would lead you to the issues that you would advocate for, or that you would champion. But then again, there's got to be a good mix between personality and issues.
You are ranking very well in the surveys. You're like number 6 in,
6 to 8
in the last survey.
It depends really in various surveys, but always within the 12.
If you become senator, what is the first bill that you will pass?
I cannot say yet, but it's really has something to do with the criminal justice system.
That's right.
Yes.
If you become senator, and then you have your, DOJ in your portfolio and CHR, do you see yourself aspiring for something higher in 2022?
I don't aspire for something higher. Whenever there is a job to be done, whenever there is a position that has to be taken, then I take it. I do the job.
You rise to the occasion.
I rise to the occasion, and then whatever comes next, bahala na. It's always que sera for me. Whatever will be, will be. That's it. I never asked. I never aspired to be CHR chairperson. I never aspired and even dreamt of becoming a DOJ secretary. And I never thought that I would be running
for senator.
Everything for a national position. So whatever is next.
Everything is a matter of destiny.
Maybe. It's a function of both destiny and performance.
And you have both.
Maybe.
Thank you, Secretary De Lima. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Maraming salamat. It's a pleasure to be in the show.
I wish
everyone would be blessed enough to be in this kind of show.
Thank you, Secretary De Lima, and I wish you a very interesting 2016. To everyone, to our fellow Cebuanos, Merry Christmas, Maayong Pasko, kanatong tanan. This has been Mike Lopez. Until next week on another open mic. Good night, Godspeed.